Right, Rabbi Sai, Siman Tov Ayin Vov, Seif Aleph, we're in the middle of Hilchos Pesach, but it's something which anyone can follow with. We're learning Siman Tov Ayin Vov towards the bottom of page Pei Zayin. Tov Ayin Vov. Minag Achilas Tzli B'leil Pesach, the minag to eat roasted meat on the night of Pesach. Says the Shulchan Aruch, Mokim Shenoagu Lechol Tzli B'leil Psochim Oichlin, a place, a Mishnah Psochim, a place they have a minhag that they do eat roast meat on the Pesach. They can eat roast meat on the Pesach. Mokim Shenoagu Shaloi Lechol, a place that the minhag is not to eat Ein Oichlin, they don't eat. Why not? Because the Gemara says, the Mishnah says, the Gemara says, there's a concern. A person would say, this is a Korban Pesach. Nevertheless, under all circumstances, in all places, everybody agrees on may not eat roasted sheep, completely roasted as one, which is really the way the Korban Pesach was roasted. Everybody agrees that you can't eat it on Seder night, because as we turn the page to the top of 174, because then it really looks like we're eating the Korban Pesach itself outside, where it may not be eaten. However, says the Shulchan Aruch, if however it's cut into pieces, or let's say there's an actual aver which was removed from it, or sholak by aver, as the Mishnah will explain what that means, or sholak by aver, or one aver, one limb was actually cooked, although the rest was roasted. It's still connected, and then he roasted it. These forms of eating these forms of roasted animal is permitted because it's not exactly the way that the Korban Pesach would have been roasted and processed. Okay, so Bekitzer, what we're saying over here is, of course, the Korban Pesach was eaten in a certain way, roasted, al-roshe, al-karov, al-kirboy, all together. But if a person, according to also everybody agrees, that's forbidden to eat roasted roast lamb in this way. But just generally to eat roasted meat, which is not roasted in this particular way, that is subject to machlokes. So let's take a look at the Mishnah Brura, Sivkotan Aleph. Shaloi lechel, not to eat. Says the Shulchan Aruch. In our countries, ein noegel lechel tzli b'shtei leilos. Both nights of Pesach, we do not eat roasted meat. V'afilus likador, even if it's roasted in a pot. How can you roast something in a pot? Not on a spit. Mishnah explains, Pirish, that means shenitzlo b'kedera, it's roasted in a pot below mayim without any liquid. B'shum mashka, no water, any liquid. Ela mispashel b'moil hayetzim menu, it just sort of gets cooked in its natural juice. We wouldn't eat meat in that way on the Pesach. Afal pi she'eino dom l'tzlias Pesach, although a Korban Pesach, which is pot roast, is going to be possible. Pesach nitzah b'kedera possible. If a person roasts the Korban Pesach in a pot without any liquid, it's possible. Nevertheless, we still can't have that on El Seder. Why? Because what people will see, they won't understand how it is processed. They'll see a person eating roast meat. They won't know it was roasted pot roast. They'll think it's roasted on a roasted as roasted normally is, not in a pot, on a spit, and therefore we won't have any roast meat on the night of Pesach. Even if first it was cooked, then it was put pot roast into a pot, still forbidden, we wouldn't have it. Because our minhag is not to eat tzli on both nights. However, somebody is slightly ill, and he must have this meat, interesting illness. One can be lenient about this. If it was roasted, then it was cooked. Then mutar lakol is completely permitted because the roasting is disregarded. Now it's considered a cooked food, and that may be eaten. Even us in our countries, Ashkenazim, that otherwise wouldn't have meat that is otherwise roasted on the night of Seder, although some Sfardim are lenient and they go like Mokim, Shanagu Lechel, Aminag is Shloi Lechel. And as the Mishnah Berurah says, either if it's roasted on a spit, or even if it's roasted in a pot roast, it would all be asa. Even if it was cooked and then put into a pot and roasted, that's also asa. Unless it's for a choyle, if it was roasted and then cooked, then that would be okay. Steve, cotton, base, set. Nevertheless, even those who have a minhag that they would eat meat which is roasted, but not if it was a set solely, a roasted ram, cotton base, bein seksovim, whether it's a sheep, or say, is it more a goat? Both of these nobody would eat. As we turn the page, because it looks like a person's eating the Korban Pesach outside the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Simchat Gimel. He's eating outside in outside the area he's allowed to eat it. Simchat Gimel kuloi ke'echad tahainu roishai al karav al kirbuk Pesach. If it's roasted as absolutely a lamb which is roasted completely as a Korban Pesach would be, that would be forbidden even the mokim shenagu lechol tzli b'Pesach. Simchat Dalet. However, if it was cut into pieces, or it was missing a limb, or a person cooked one limb, and then it's still connected, and then he roasted it. All these are permitted with mokoim she'noagu. I mean, places that are accustomed to have roast meat, they would also have meat if the entire seh was roasted, but pieces were cut from it, or it was missing a limb, or one limb was roasted and then it was cooked and then roasted. That would also be permitted. Mokim shenagu for our friends Achenu b'nei Sfard. Simchat Dalet v'moy mechutach yishachas rot leim shetzola oisai keshehu mechutach Mishnah Berurah Simchat Dalet, top of page 174. That means he roasted it when it was already detached, it was ready in pieces, or if it was attached. Just one limb was cut from it before roasting. And then he roasted this piece which was cut b'shas tzliya, put it next to it, and after he roasted it all together, it's permitted b'makom shenagu lechol tzli. B'makom shenagu, in a place they have accustomed to eat roasted meat. Or for example, there was one particular limb which was cooked, not roasted, but though it was connected to the rest of the animal. That means, and after that means he cooked one limb and then he roasted everything together. Since it's not compared to the way that the Pesach was roasted, it's permitted in all of this. That means the Shulchan Aruch is telling us again that for somebody, a Sfadi, who keeps the minhag of eating, he would eat roast meat on Pesach. He would not eat a sheep which was actually roasted the way that the Korban Pesach was roasted, which is completely whole, everything together and roasted together. However, and if a piece was cut off and then it was roasted, or let's say it was it was all attached, but he cooked one limb and then roasted everything together, or anything similar, which would not be a kosher Korban Pesach. So those who are accustomed to have roast meat on the night of Pesach would have that as well. V'lo yoichel, says the Ramah, v'lo yoichel, and a person must not eat. V'lo yishte, and you shouldn't drink. Harbe yoisem midai, much more than necessary, during the Suda of the Shulchan Aruch in the Leil Seder. Shelo yoichel afikomen al achila gasa, so he won't eat afikomen when he's full. And additionally, or yishtake, or he'll become shikah, v'yishamiyad, he'll be so tired, he's drunk so much, he's eaten so much, and he will become tired. And Mishnah Berurah says, the Tosefta says, Chayav otam lasik bilchos haPesach kol halayla. I'm reading Mishnah Berurah Simchat Zayin, and a person has to be oisik in the Lochos haPesach the whole night. And if he becomes shikah, then he will be fall asleep, he won't be able to fulfill this Indian of Chayav on Masik Pesach Kol Halayla. Okay, now we'll come back to that in a moment. Be'ezus Hashem. Let's take a look at the Mishnah Brura Sivkotan Vov. Achila Gasa. Achila Gasa. Don't eat too much, Shulchan Aruch, because otherwise we'll come to the Afikomen when you are full, overfull. Sivkotan Vov. What's Achila Gasa? What's a bloated eating? So how do that means? He doesn't at all want to eat. That's not the way to fulfill the mitzvah ideally. True, it represents the Korban Pesach for Pesach, and the Korban Pesach, as we know, was eaten when a person was full. The Hainushu Sofia Kfar is full. Why do you have Afikomen in the Suda? Because that's how they ate the Korban Pesach. Commotion is Bob Sim Tofine Zain, as we'll see. Nevertheless, you have to have a bit of an appetite to eat the Afikomen, to eat the Korban Pesach. Otherwise, it's not ideal. So a person eats, overeats, and doesn't enjoy eating the Afikomen. You shouldn't. That's not how it should be eaten. Says the Mishnah Brura, and if a person's full, kolkach so much, he's so full, if his body is almost sick of the to eat the Afikomen, it just can't. He's just really forcing it down. Although he's pushing the food down, pushing the Afikomen down. He's not fulfilled the mitzvah of Afikomen because he's forced it down and he doesn't want to eat it. He's come sick of it. It's too much for him. Eating like this is not called achila at all. The Pri Megadim brings the Yesh Omrim that says one would even give such a person makas maradus, malchus midrabanon, of eating for eating in this way. He hasn't fulfilled the mitzvah. Kosar Poskim, the Poskim say, as we conclude Sivkot and Vav, achilas Afikomen olav l'toirach. A person shouldn't have the eating of Afikomen; it should be troublesome for him. He won't fulfill the mitzvah that in the ideal way. So again, there's two extremes. On the one hand, yes, the Afikomen is eaten at the end of the meal. True. Nechal ala soif, when a person has eaten satiated, that's true. But he shouldn't have come to a situation where he's absolutely full and he can't keep up with eating it. That, of course, that's either it could be not even yet to the mitzvah at all, if it's really to that extent that he can't eat it at all. But a person should therefore eat the Suda, but keep room for the Afikomen. Shimon Shvab would tell his family, the bringing of Shvab Agoda, Shimon Shvab would tell his family not to eat matzah during the Suda to ensure that they have space and will enjoy eating the Afikomen. Yeah, Mr. Brura said cotton zayin. So there's another reason also not to eat too much or drink too much, because the person will become shikah and drinks and fall asleep straight away. Says the Mishnah Brura, but tiny bit Tosefta. We learned that the Tosefta says, a person has to involve himself in the halachas of Pesach the whole night. Say the poskim, they bring it from Rishon Karelitz and Rebbe Yashav, that it doesn't mean he has to really learn the whole night. I mean, the Shulchan Aruch himself says until it is overcome by sleep. It doesn't mean literally to overcome by sleep. It means, the words of Rebbe Yashav says, it doesn't mean until he absolutely falls on the table, because at that point he's in Oinus. Rather, and also he has to fill the mitzvah reading the Shema and Hamapil. Rather, as the Dusha note brings over here, it means to the point that his head is heavy and the sleep is overtaking him to the point his head is heavy. At that point, then he's allowed to go to sleep. Yeah. Interesting though. If I was the Mishnah Brura, I would have said, yeah, the concern is maybe he'll drink and he'll fall asleep straight away, and he won't bench Birchas Hamazon, and he won't say Hallel, yeah, and he won't drink of the two cases. That's why he shouldn't drink too much. He might fall asleep. The Mishnah Brura brings because he won't be able to fulfill the mitzvah of Lasik Be'ilchas HaPesach Kol Halayla. Interesting. Sif base. Afilu basar egel v'oif. Even calf meat or poultry, birds, yeah, meat of a calf or bird, called Dovashetan Shchita, anything that, any animal that needs to be slaughtered, also lechal tzli can't be eaten roasted, but makom shenagu shloi lechal tzli. If your custom is that you don't eat roasted, anything that needs shchita is not to be eaten on Leil Seder. Yeah, roasted. Says the Mishnah Brura, Sivkot Ches, Tes, and Yud. Afilu basar egel v'oif, even meat of a calf or a bird, you can't bring Korban Pesach for any of these items, nevertheless. Also, one can't have it roasted. Huh, why not? Because if people make a mistake, being roasting and roasting. They'll say, well, I went to that house and they had a roast meat. So that means we can also have roast lamb. And because they won't see the difference. So therefore, all meat cannot be eaten roasted, even if it's not something which could actually be used for the Korban Pesach. That's, of course, in a place they don't have tzli, basar tzli on Leil Seder. Sfadi, it would be fine, if that's the minhag. Says the Mishnah Brura Sivkot Tes. This includes any meat that needs shchita. Lafuki, this comes to exclude dogim, fish, beitzim and eggs. Mutar you can eat them. If you roasted, there's no problem. Fish and diamond klal basar. Fish and eggs are not at all comparable to meat. But nobody's going to make a mistake and come to have roasted sheep, roast lamb. Even the egg which is put on the kara can be roasted and can be eaten, as we'll see. Actually, there's an Indian specially to eat it, as we'll see in a moment in the Ramah. When meat is permitted to be eaten, provided it's a place that, so all this meat can't be eaten if it's a place that the minhag is not to eat roast meat. A place that they eat roast, you can even have a calf roasted in one piece. In the Pesach Babamenu, since the Korban Pesach can come from it, even if it's roasted in one piece, that's okay. So again, Kimta is clear that yeah, they can have any meat as long as it's not actually a lamb or a sheep, which is roasted and it's roasted complete. That everybody holds also. But otherwise, if it's not a se, either it's not a se, for example, it's egel v'oif, or if it would be a se, but it's not roasted complete, then it's going to be mutter b'makom shenagu lechol tzli, in a place they're going to eat tzli. For example, some sfadim have as Ashkenazim, but we don't have a minute. We wouldn't have any basar tzli at all, but we would have fish or beitzim if that would be roasted. Right. Yeah. Says the Mishnah Brura, says the Ramah continues. Some places have a custom lechel b'suda, to eat in the suda beitzim an egg, zeichel avelus, as to remind us of avelus. What shaykh has avelus got to Leil Seder? Avelus. Says that the reason is mishum sheleil Tisha B'av nikva b'leil Pesach. The night of Tisha B'av always is the same night as the night of Pesach. We've got a connection. It's learned in Simon Tov from Hilchos Rosh Chodesh. It tells us Shulchan Aruch writes that the first day of Pesach is always the same as Tov, the same as Tisha B'av. At Bash, the first day of Pesach was in Tisha B'av. The Aleph, first letter of the Aleph base, always connected with the Tov, the last letter of the Aleph base. First day of Pesach, the Aleph is always the same as the Tov, the Tisha B'av. And the Shulchan Aruch continues at the base. The second day of Pesach is always connected to the Shin, which is the second last letter of the Aleph base, which is Shavuos. And the third day of Pesach, which is the Gimel, is always the same date as the Kuf, the Kriyas HaTorah, which is Simchas Torah. And the Shulchan Aruch continues to explain how the calendar can be worked out if one just knows the day, the first day of Pesach, what day of the week it is. One can work out all the other Yom Tovim, what day of the week they will fall that particular year. So since the first night of Pesach, the Aleph of Pesach is always the same as the Tov, which is the night of Tisha B'av. Therefore, some have accustomed to eat eggs, which is a food which is eaten by Avelim. One reason is that the egg is round, and the egg reminds us of the galga, or the life cycle. Or the egg itself shows the reproduction of another generation, which is also something of the life cycle. Anyway, so the Ramah says, Negim Ksas Mekomis. The Ramah, towards the end of the Simon, Sif Beis, Tov Ein Vav Sif Beis, Noyagin says the Ramah. There's a custom, Ksas Mekomis in some places, Lechel Besuda Beitim to eggs, Zeichel Avelos, as a reminder of the Avelos. The nearly at time says Mishnah Berurah. It seems to be the reason is Mishum Shel. It's a shulchan the Ramah. Sorry, the nearly at time Mishum Shel Tisha B'av Nikba B'Leil Pesach. The night of Tisha B'av falls always on the night of the first night of Pesach. Reason number one. Reason number two. The Oid, and furthermore Zeichel Churban, as to remind us of the Churban. Shoy Makrivin Korban Pesach. They brought the Korban Pesach, which we unfortunately don't have the ability to do so now. The Ramah concludes: V'yesh Negin, some of the customs Shloilechel Shum Tibble. Don't dip at all. Anything else? Night of Pesach, Rak Shnei Tibulim, only the two dips, which we do at the Seder, obviously the cannabis in the salt water, and the Moror in the Charoises. As the Shulchan Aruch Rav says, the reason is to be clear that these two Tibulim are the ones which are a type of a mitzvah, and the other Tibulim, any other Tibul, is not a mitzvah. In fact, we don't do it at all because to show just these two are required. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan, Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and Yud Dalet. Yud Aleph, V'nirali Hatam, says the Ramah. Do you know why you have eggs? Because the first night of Tisha B'av, the night of Tisha B'av falls on the first night of Pesach, Sif Katan Yud Aleph. The Vilna Gon Kosovo Tam brings another reason. Because the Beah is a Zeicha for the Korban Chagiga, which was also brought on Pesach. The Elbasim and Tofa and Gimel Sif Dalet. You also have to eat that as well. Mash Ein Oichlin Hazroya. Why do we not eat the actual Zeroya, which is the meat on the Ka'ara, which has been Rafisha Oisnois sleeve because that's roasted. Yeah. Which costs of Basim and Tofa and Gimel, but in Eichlin, see, we don't eat roasted. Instead, we eat the Afi Koiman, meaning the mats of Afi Koiman is actually in lieu of the Korban Pesach, and therefore we have a kazais of matzah instead of the Afi Koiman, Korban Pesach, which is represented with Israel Ad Kantvorov. Says the Mishnah Berurah Vaita, therefore, it appears according to this reason, one should also eat on the first night the egg which is actually on the Korah, because that's the egg which represents the Korban Chagiga. Other eggs which people eat is because the minhag has been expanded, and that's how the minhag has sort of evolved. But says the Gon, the main egg which will be eaten on El Seder is the one on the Korah, because that represents the Korban Chagiga. So again, it seems like there's two reasons. It seems like one is, it seems like the Ramah's reason, he says the Ramah's reason is Mishum Avelus, and the Gon says a reason because the Zeichel Chagiga, they bring down the Rav Moshe, his Dushu 7 brings Rav Moshe to explain that even the Ramah agrees that the minhag to eat the egg Zeichel Chagiga is also relevant, but he says there's a concern. If we eat the egg Zeichel Chagiga, people would say that this actually became Kodesh for a Korban Chagiga. One was Makdash it, and therefore he says they also have another reason to eat it from Avedas, and therefore that will override. Nobody will think eating it Zeichel Chagiga mamash. But the Gaon says there's no such chashash, and he's very happy to say that he doesn't need the reason of Avedas. He says eating it Zeichel Korban Chagiga, and there's no concern that a person, nobody will say that he was Makdash it the Korban Chagiga. Right. The Mishnah Berurah continues. Sivkot and Yud Shel Tisha B'av Nikba. The night of Tisha B'av is always fixed the same night as Pesach. Sivkot and Yud Beis. Perish K'moshe Chol Yom Rishon Shel Pesach. The first night of Pesach, for example, this year the first night of Pesach was a Wednesday night. Yeah. So therefore, Yom Tisha B'av this year will also be the same night, Wednesday night, Thursday. Kavod Elbasim Tov Chavches, as we learned in Hilchos in Hilchos Siman Tov Kov Ches, the end of Chelik Dalet. As is Hashem. Sivkot Yugimel, Shay Makrivin. They were Makriv the Korban Pesach. Yeah, and we can't bring Korban Pesach anymore, and therefore we need a similar Avedus. Sorry, this egg is therefore Zeichel Churban, and the Zeichel Churban that we can no longer bring Korban Pesach Sivkatan. We are in Avedus about this in mourning. Well, a few times then, according to this reason, even on the second day of Pesach, also it's applicable to eat the Be'ah. Also, we could eat it on the second night as well. Okay, if that is so, you have to be aware. According to all the reasons which we brought for the egg, either Zeichel Avelus, because the Tisha B'Av the same night as Pesach, or Zeichel Churban, that we can't bring the Korban Pesach, or like the Von Gorn's Pesach, that it was Zeichel Chagiga, whatever it is. He says, according to all the reasons that the eggs which are eaten during the Suda are just a Zeicher Ba'alma. They think that regardless, it's only a Zeicher. And people shouldn't think that the egg in the Suda is like Doiraisa. They think it's like a mitzvah. Wow, it's such a mitzvah to eat egg. And to eat so much egg. Can't be Afikomen. Ow. Well, the eat Afikomen bit is really quite pressed, which was not the way a person should eat the Afikomen. Or eat the Afikomen, he really can't eat the Afikomen, he's forcing it down. It's even worse. The actual person has to know and bear that in mind. Everything has to be in perspective and understand the hierarchy of important things with regards to eating the mitzvahs halaylo. In fact, with regards to this nechel ala soiva, it's interesting because the Rambam says, the Rambam Hilchos Deis says a person who eats ala soiva till he's full, it causes him bad illnesses can come from that. So nevertheless, Afikomen is eaten ala soiva, is eaten until when a person is full. Nevertheless, they write, the Matani Shmuel brings down that with regards to Afikomen, Shoma mitzvah the Eda Dovara. Somebody who does a mitzvah won't suffer, won't see anything bad happening because he's performing the mitzvah, provided he performs the mitzvah in a proper way, not when it's absolutely achila gasa, but ala soiva, the way it should be eaten. He had his meal and he has the Afikomen the end after his meal. He has room for it, but it's tight. He said, somebody who does a mitzvah won't see anything bad happening to it. The Rambam Hilchos Deis won't affect him. In fact, in Zohar Kodesh it calls the Afikomen Michla de Asfasa. It's a food of refuah. So therefore, of course, a person won't see harm, provided he performs the mitzvah properly. And finally, Sef Kotan Yodala Rabbi say, Rak Shnei Tivolim, we're careful. Says the Ramah, the custom is, some are accustomed not to dip anything more than the two required tibulim. Sef Kotan Yodala Masha Tovrin Gam Moror, Shala Kricha Bachar says, you're going to say it's not true, Rabbi Katanka. You'll say that first we did the karabas in salt water, and then we did the moror in the charosis, and then the koirech in the charosis, the sandwich. Ain't that table shlishi says to Mishra, that's not a third dipping. So Rak Mishram Safik Bilvad. The koirech is only eaten because we're not sure. How do you fill the mitzvah moror? Is mitzvah moror fulfilled neat by itself? Matzah only but the moror is eaten by itself. Well, no, with matzah. And therefore it's machloika. So therefore, we do both moror by itself, dip the charosis, and moror with matzah, different charosis, but it's both fulfill the same chiyuv, and therefore there's only two dippings, and that's how we fulfill the mitzvahs we've learned tonight. There's different minhagim with regards to eating roast meat on El Pesach. Everybody agrees not to eat absolutely the way the Korban Pesach was brought, roasted completely as one whole, the way it was prescribed by the Korban Pesach. Though there are those, the Sfadim, who would have roasted meat, provided it's either not roasted completely, or it's other types of meat like egel v'oif, like calf or poultry that they would have, even if it's roasted whole. But Ashkenazi practice, or a general practice, as Mishnah Berurah brings down, we don't have tzli at all on El Seder. We would have, however, fish and eggs. In fact, there's an old minig, a sort of very old machsa. I think the minig is a Dutch minig, and somehow also in England they dafka have fish on Lel Seder, so it shouldn't be at all Mishmura says you can have fish, but there are others who say there was an old minig to have fish, not to at all, even because not to have any dimon whatsoever to meat on El Seder, but that's not brought here at all. Just saying it's an interesting minig. Maybe also because some people can't eat meat when it's very late at night. Perhaps that's why they had this interesting minig. Al Kaponim, not irrelevant. Mishmura brings fish and eggs permitted to become eaten when they're roasted. Yet one shouldn't eat or drink too much so that Afikomen should be eaten properly, also to ensure that they won't become shaken and fall asleep. A person absolutely can't have any more of Afikomen. He completely feels sick of Afikomen, then he wouldn't fulfill the mitzvah at all. And there's a minhag to eat eggs for various reasons. And Mishmura Ramah brings Rizeichel Avedus, which is the night of the same night, since the first night of Pesach is always the same night as Tisha B'Av, also Zeichel Churban. And with the Gorn brings a reason because of Zeichel Lechagiga, one also only has 2 tibulim on Leil Seder and not to dip anything else. Thank you very much for listening. Looking forward to welcoming you back tomorrow.